Hello everyone, Max and Rob here from Engine Tuner. Today we've been sponsored by Shell to drive across the south coast of England as we head down to Sussex to visit our friends SMD. We set off nice and early this morning, a good couple of hours drive, but we're going to go down there, see what the guys at SMD have been up to, check out some of the great work that they've done recently, but we thought we'd take you on the day with us and give you an insight into our friends down there, so follow along. Okay, so we just made it here at SMD, about 3 hours from Dorset where me and Rob are based, so I'll give you a look around.
Hi guys, how you doing? I'm Brent from SMD. The guys from Engine Tuner popped down to see us today just to see what we've got going on. Follow me. So a lot of guys might have seen that we've already had the Jun Super Lemon down at Engine Tuner a few months ago. We made 820 horse. Unfortunately, we ran into transmission issues. We actually snapped the input shaft, and we've been waiting 18 weeks from the parts from Hollinger to repair that. But we should see the gearbox for that in the next couple of weeks, so we'll be looking to get that back together and back on the road. We've got Honda Civic in at the moment. This is in for turbo conversion. We're just sort of completing that. We've just got an issue with the turbo at the moment, but basically the customer sourced a new one, and that's going to be going back on in the next week or so. We've got sort of our everyday work going on as well. We've got a BMW and Jag in today for sort of general servicing repairs. Got the Evo engine sat here on the stand at the moment. So this car's made just over 600 horsepower already. The car came apart because the engine developed a knocking noise. So we hooked the engine out of the Evo, sent that down to the guys at Engine Tuner in Plymouth. Basically identified it as a broken crankshaft. It had a crack in the last main on the crank. So it's had a new crankshaft, refresh, all back together, sent it back to us. We should have that back in the next couple of weeks. That car's going to have an engine bay restoration as well. So the car's got a little bit scabby underneath the engine bay, so it's going to be sort of stripped down, all painted up, all the ancillaries all sort of made nice again, all back together. And then that'll be another trip back down to Engine Tuner, get it on the dyno once the engine's running, and hopefully go for a little bit more power as well. So it's quite a nice little build going on. Little EcoBoost engine going on here. Quite a common failure with these. They have a wet belt system where it's a rubberized cam belt that's submerged into oil. Terrible design, to be honest. Basically, they snapped the cam belt and they smashed themselves to bits inside. So, little Fiesta outside. So, I don't know if anybody knows the story with the Subaru at the moment. So, we did the Quick 60 event recently. If anybody saw the live footage of that, unfortunately, we had an engine failure. The engine run Jun internals, steel cranks, steel rods, pistons, their camshafts and everything else. But the car's been over 600 horsepower for a long time now. It's had quite a hard life, should we say. It had got a little bit noisy, the engine, it wasn't unexpected. But yeah, unfortunately it let go on the Quick 60. We had a rod decide that it was going to leave the block. Smashed a few bits up on the way out, but it's happened the right end of the season, luckily. So the car's all apart at the moment. The guys at Engine Tuner are just sort of working out the best route for us to go engine-wise. but we're going to be coming back next year, bigger literage for sure, and we're looking for like another 100 horsepower as well, so it'll be quite nice. But we're seeing the opportunity to sort of upgrade a few things on the way as well. There's a couple of little bits and pieces that we wanted to do with the car. We've got new ECU going in from Link, who've been really supportive with that. They sorted us out with an ECU. And Turbo Smart on board are trying to help us out with anti-lag valve as well, so those things will be going in. With the Link ECU, that's going to allow us to run our dry nitrous system as well, so quite looking forward to finally running nitrous on the car as well. But hopefully we'll be going through the car as well. Hopefully we're looking to, as long as finances allow it, we're looking to run a 1.5 way differential in the gearbox for next year. Hopefully get some composite doors on the car as well. But looking to sort of compete in sprints and hill climbs next year. We're really looking forward to that. But bit of a depressing room at the moment, but come back bigger and better next year, eh? So through next door, sort of our project room, if you like. So at the moment we've got a Impreza P1 in here. So this car actually come in as a non-runner basically. The customer had work done by somebody else, and he'd asked for the engine bay to be spruced up. As part of that work, he had the inlet manifold repainted. The people that had done it had basically sandblasted the inlet manifold, but hadn't cleaned it out afterwards. So basically what had happened is the customer had taken delivery of the car, driving it down the road. After a period of time, it started losing power and got to the point where it didn't run at all, basically. So under investigation, when the car come in, we found the car basically had no compression or very low compression, and sort of going on instincts after him talking about the sort of work he'd had done. We took the throttle body off the inlet manifold and found that it was basically the inlet manifold was still completely full of blasting grit. So obviously all the blasting grit that was stuck in the manifold obviously got into the engine and basically just hammered the engine to death to the point where it had not enough compression to even run, basically.
So is that a full engine rebuild from there?
Yep, so it started out, obviously we hooked the engine out at that point. The engine went down to the guys in Plymouth, Engine Tuner. That on strip down, obviously it was the bottom end of the engine was completely wrecked. The heads were still salvageable. So it's basically got the customer's original heads sort of rebuilt, all cleaned up, all back together again, and it's got a Subaru short block, basically off the shelf, 2-litre short block, and then with new oil pump and everything else. On the back of that, the customer really wanted to still sort of go down the lines of tidying his engine up. So on top of that, we sort of thought it was a real shame that the rest of the engine bay was quite shabby. So I thought it was a bit of a shame to sort of spend all that time and effort to make the engine look really nice and take the opportunity to sort the engine bay out at the same time whilst it was all apart. So yeah, basically all the ancillaries have all been apart. So even to the point like with the alternator and stuff, just for example, you know, the alternator's completely stripped down. In this particular case for this customer, he didn't want like sort of the original bare alley. He wanted to prevent the casings from corroding again. So in this case, it was basically soda blasted casings and then repainted in the silver, and then like the centers repainted, all the original bolts are re-galvanized, and that's same for everything on the car. So same treatment with the power steering pump, header tank, throttle body, all the fuel lines, injectors all flow tested, and all back together again basically. So rather than sort of the factory sort of satiny blue that the engine bays usually come with, whatever sort of overspray ends up in the engine bay when they build the cars, we've done full colour inside the engine bay as well, just to really smarten it up. This car was quite badly corroded in some places with the zinking stuff, and when it comes back from the zinking, sometimes it's not great out the box, so it needs additional sort of individual bolts cleaning up, and then we send them off and get them redone again. So we're just waiting on a few bits for this car just to be able to finish that off. Oh, we've got a nice E36 M3 in it as well at the moment, a track car. The Hilux is for a chunk of work as well, so the customer's recently bought this vehicle. He wants to do a bit more off-roading with it. So sort of variation of work we do, so basically the car's getting jacked up a little bit more. We've got to sort out some clearance issues with the tyres for him, and then just sort of general service and repair stuff and bits and pieces, bushes, springs, and that they need doing. So that's a nice little fun job. So the E36 that's here, basically, customers recently bought this. He's a friend of a good customer of ours already who runs an E36 track car. So this is E36 M3 that he's recently bought. He just wanted it checked over from a safety point of view, make sure he's good, ready for the track. So sort of the list on this one really is sort of a little bit of maintenance stuff, so like diff oil changes and bits and pieces like that, sort of servicing the engine and whatnot. We've got a brake bias valve going in, new seat mountings. Basically the seat mountings were very, very poor in this car. You could call it welded in, but it's not really. So yeah, new seat mounts in this car. The customer wanted a harness bar in as well, so we can mount his 4-point harnesses correctly. Just trying to think what else we've got going in this car. Yeah, so stock engine, yeah. But we got geometry to do on this car as well. Just getting ready for sort of track days really. I think that's about all we got on at the moment. There's sort of interesting stuff, so that's great.
Thank you for that, Brent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys follow us, then make sure you follow SMT. The guys do fantastic work, especially full long-term restorations and things like that, especially like cars like the Super Lemon and stuff. It's no joke. So yeah, be sure to drop them guys a follow. And yeah, thanks for your time, Brent.
Thanks, sir.